Hello, welcome again to another video on understanding insurance claims. Today we're going to be looking at the typical homeowner policy and coverage C. Coverage C is usually going to be your personal property, the unscheduled personal property that you have in your home. Now you may have some personal property that's scheduled. In other words, it may be you may have some jewelry items, some guns or whatever that you have scheduled, and it's usually under a floater policy. But you would have the same coverage. In fact, you would have even more coverage. But today we're going to be talking specifically about the unscheduled personal property. And it's just a broad class of personal property that you have. And in most cases, you will find that personal property is not specifically defined. So people say, well, what is personal property? Usually it's those items that you typically find around a person's home. You'll find furniture, you'll find televisions, you'll find clothes, various things, maybe some equipment and tools and things that you use to upkeep your premises. All of that is personal property. And usually, as I say, it's unscheduled. So, and if you find something, if you have something around your home that's not typical, then there may be a question as to whether or not it would qualify as personal property. Say, for instance, that you were in the body shop business for years. Now you're retired, but you have all this body shop tools and equipment on your premises, and you may use it solely to upkeep your automobiles now. Okay, is that personal property? Well, that's a matter of discussion with your insurance company, but in some cases it's been shown that yes, this is personal property. While it used to be business property, now it's personal property because you do not use it in your business any longer. And you'll find that not only are your items covered as an insured, but you'll find at your discretion, if you have someone visiting in your home and say there's a fire and their property is destroyed, do they have a claim for their property? Well, they will if you want them to. Now, they can't make a claim directly against your insurance company because they have no contract with your insurance company. But you, as their host, you can say, okay, I would like for this person's personal property to be covered as well. Now, it would not be an additional amount of insurance. It would still fall under that same limit of coverage that you have. So if your claim is relatively small in relation to the amount of coverage you have, that would not be a problem. But for instance, if they had $20,000 in value and all of the contents in the home were destroyed and you did not have sufficient coverage even to cover your own items, then ordinarily you would not make a claim for their property. Now hopefully they would have their own homeowners insurance policy, and then they could make a claim against their insurance company for their loss. But if you want to claim it under your policy, you can. That's up to you. And you'll find that in most of these policies there is an indication that there's 10% coverage off premises. Typically what this is for, if a person has a lake home and they have furniture and other furnishings there at that lake home, but they don't live there, they spend several weekends a year there, maybe during the summer or whatever, but they still have those items there, but they don't have any specific coverage for those furnishings and personal property at that lake home, then they can apply 10% of the coverage that they have on coverage C, which again is personal property. So for instance, you live at 2500 Main Street in Forest City, Texas. Okay, and your coverage for personal property is $150,000. Well, you may have a home at a lake, and if you have damage, you can apply 10% of the $150,000 or $15,000 to cover the damage to the property at your lake home. So that's where your 10% covers. But your basic coverage is anywhere in the world and up to the policy limits. There's no restriction ordinarily. Say for instance you're on a trip and you're taking a cruise and you're going to be gone a month. Well, you have coverage to the full amount of your policy limits for those personal items that you have with you during that cruise. So and there's one exception or a couple exceptions to the 10% rule, and you'll find that if, for instance, you're making repairs to your home, you're remodeling, so you move a lot of your furniture and items to your lake home so that they won't be in the way while you're doing your remodeling. Well, if a loss occurs at your lake home and those items are destroyed, that 10% would not apply to those items that you moved away simply because they were moved for a temporary period of time. They typically would be at your main residence, and so that 10% limitation would not apply there. And you'll also find it would not apply typically in a newly acquired principal residence, where you've bought and you've started moving items into that new home, but over a process of, it may take 30 days or so to get the other home completely furnished. Well, that 10% rule would not apply in that case. Usually for 30 days after you purchase a new home, when you're trying to get it furnished and so forth, and you're gradually moving things from your old home to your new home. Well, that gives you a period of time where the 10% rule would not apply. Because, for instance, if you, on day 29, and you had 90% of your furnishings from your old home already moved to your new home and a total loss occurred, then certainly the 10% limitation would hinder you, would damage you to a large degree. But in this particular case, the 10% would not apply, so you would still have the full coverage that you would have had you not moved those particular items out. Of course, this is going to bring on a lot of questions by your insurance company, but typically with reasonable explanation and so forth, that will not be a problem. Excuse me. But that's basically how your personal property coverage works. But if you're going to have a large value in furnishings and personal property at another location, you may need to consider having it specifically insured for that location. That way you won't be hurt in the event you have a major loss and then only have 10% coverage. So in every case where you have a question, it's always good policy to talk to your insurance agent, talk to your company, to see what's covered and what's not covered, and what steps you need to take in order to be as covered as you would want to be. Again, I hope this video has been some benefit to you, and if you like it, I'd ask you to hit the subscribe button and be looking for a lot more videos about understanding insurance claims, putting the puzzle together of all the questions that you might have relative to understanding insurance claims. And again, I hope this has been a benefit to you, and I hope you have a wonderful day. Thank you very much.